Hey, what's going on, Maschine Masters? My name is MGTheFuture. Thank you guys for joining us on this channel today. Today I'll be taking a look at Sicko Mode by Travis Scott featuring Drake. What I would like to talk about is the transitions that they use to go between all three beats. Probably in this example, we might just do two. However, I'm gonna call it the Travis Scott transition or the Sicko Mode transition. And I'll be using FL Studio for that. If you haven't heard Sicko Mode, definitely check that out on YouTube first. The new music video that they have, because it's pretty creative and colorful and cool. Just so you have an idea of some of these concepts that I'm sharing with you. But the only thing I wanted to show you about the original song itself is how I arrived at my decision making for how I'm going to do it in my own. So in this particular project, I took the waveform or the song and I divided it into its three separate parts. I then let this software, which is called Mixed in Key, analyze it for me to generate the key that it's in and the tempo that it's on. So in part one, where it's all the organs and synths, it thinks it's in 7A. 7A on this chart is D minor. Then it goes down from 140 beats per minute or so, increases to 155, and then it goes to 11A. 11A is F sharp minor. Then on the last one, it stays the same tempo, and then it goes to 2A, and that's D sharp minor. So the two things that I really focus on is what overlaps or what's common. Well, what's common here is that these two tempos are the same. So it's easy to blend those two beats. What's common between 7A and 2A is that one's D and one's D sharp, meaning there's only a half a step change between the two tracks, and that'll give you a lot of, I guess, a big emotional change or big energetic change. The one that kind of throws that off, though, is the one in the middle, which doesn't seem to have any common denominators with that first track, which is why it sounds so odd when it drops. But if you go from 7A to 2A, it's less profound, and I'll show you. It almost sounds like it should be the same track. So when you get a chance to hear this song, definitely analyze it. See how you feel by mixing and arranging those three different parts in different order. What does that mean for us, though, when we make our own original content? Well, that means you have a lot of ideas. You can merge songs at the same tempo, and you can merge songs that are in different keys. However, it sounds smoother if the keys are only half steps away from each other. So in my particular example, I'm going to try that cinematic intro with the organs. I'm going to go ahead and open up Expand 2. I'm not even going to waste no time with it. Let's look for the organ folder. So I'll use something like this. So what I'm playing is a G minor ninth. No, I'm sorry, F minor ninth. And I'm only playing some of the keys. I'm skipping the third. So it's going to be F, C, D sharp, G. And then I'm just going to go up one, and that's going to be G minor seventh. But I'm going to drop the third as well. Now in the real Sicko Mode, there's four chords. There's two going back and forth. Then there's another set that sounds like it rises a little bit going back and forth, then it comes back down. That all depends on what key you're in. The key that I'm in right now, though, is C minor, but I'm playing the F and the G of the C minor scale. So I'm playing the 4 and the 5. And they go back and forth interchangeably. 1 and 4 will go back, 1 and 5 will go back. But I'm going to keep it simple for myself and just record that 4 and a 5. And then what I got to do, since I'm in C minor by default, my next chord or my next beat or my next pattern should be a half step up. So I can go from these to like a C sharp scale for that other beat, for the piano beat, or for whatever you want to do. Or if we just ignore the C part of C minor and just focus on the F and the G, I can go up to an F sharp maybe. Any way you do it, completely up to you. So let's get this done first. Let's move this up to 155, 150. So let's average it out. Let's make this one 150. And then I want to duplicate this, and let's pick one more sound. It sounded like he had like a fake sound as well at a higher octave. It sounded like an organ, but it sounded way more synthetic. So it's likely going to be like a polysynth or something to that effect. So I'm going to try the polysynth category here. So I'm naming that poly. I know in a real mix that would have to be turned way down. Now I want to duplicate it one more time, because on the second part of this intro of theirs, even though they're switching chords halfway in, they're also adding a bass line or a drone sound that I call them. So let's see if there's some kind of synth-based patch within this that would work. Move this up one. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's go through these organs real quick. Cool enough for me. So one thing we're gonna need that snare roll that they have. So just a regular snare. I'm gonna turn this one way down. And Fruity Loops has, fill each 2 steps. And the cool thing you can do is click this little icon here. I think it's called Graph Editor. And just like you can adjust your velocity, you can adjust your fine pitch as well, note pitch. So all we gotta do is adjust it from here. I'm going to pattern mode so we can hear that. So what I do is every 4, bring it down a pitch, or 2, however many steps you want. If your snares are tuned, or like you actually know the absolute pitch of like an acoustic snare or a 808 snare or something, you can do it within the chord as well. And they play that twice until the beat drops. So what they did was they teased in theirs this fake beat. We'll call it this. It's like it's 1 bar when Drake is about to snap and everyone says, hey, I wish that song kept going. Will you guys release the first version of Sicko Mode as a complete song? They should if they cared about the fans, but they're not. So I got a simple pattern like this. And the reason why I left that trailing there is that in order for it to go to your next beat, you want some type of effect. And the easiest one, of course, is the Just Blaze snare, right? Where you get this big reverb sound at the end of the track. In my case, I'm gonna use something like a Endless Smile, which exceeds at that feeling. So let's check that out. And this is on channel 2 where my snare is automatically routed by the sequencer. And you hear that tail, how long is extending? This particular plugin has some kind of preset that's beat synced. So it'll last for like a bar or 2. So I'm only gonna let mine do that. And then my chords and everything, I can just switch it in half. So I'm gonna cut this back to where that snare should hit. Right, so now that can go into beat number 2. So this will be beat 2, literally. This will just be like the drums and stuff. And I'll use a clap instead of a snare this time. All right, here's my second drum pattern. Now, when they go from the first beat to the second beat, they don't just let the beat ride straight out. They'll do like the stutter step that's happening here. So I'm gonna stutter step it too. Bang. So on here, you create your piano, because I think this is Tay Keith's part that we're going after, so to speak. And this could be whatever you want. Mine's is going to be a piano, so I'm going to open up another instance of Expand. Tons of acoustic pianos. All right, so here's my piano part. Like I said, I went up a key to F sharp minor, and I'm only using 2 chords in this part or in this beat as well. So I'm going from 1 to the 5, I believe. Real simple, they're the same type of chord, they're both minors. So you can pretty much just copy and paste it if you have your scale highlight on for the second chord, especially when you're dealing with these trap type beats. The only other thing I might do is trace the kick with an 808. All right, so for the finale, we're gonna play the 2 tracks together. So yeah, man, I call that the Sicko Mode transition using FL Studio. Just to recap real briefly though, all we really did was compose 2 different parts and 2 different keys that are half step away from each other. And the part that's more intense or more serious beat is a half step higher. And of course, we're borrowing the cue from how this looks within Sicko Mode itself. The other things that we left out was the tempo change, and of course an extra beat that switches as well. So what that means is at this particular part in my production, maybe I can change this all the way around and automate the tempo to go slower and then drop the key to a different key altogether and make it sound like a whole different beat on the outro. I mean, you can mess with that idea and mix and match these ideas to do your own thing And in fact, that is the objective, for you to expand your creativity and to do more, add more production value, and ultimately sound like yourself. But anyway, I'm MGTheFuture. Thank you for joining us today. Any comments, questions, or concerns, definitely leave them in the box below. If you're not a subscriber, definitely subscribe. If you're on social media, you can follow us. I'm at MGTheFuture on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to also follow at Maschine Masters. Until next time, guys, peace.